Doctor Who 2022 specials. The Power of the Doctor. So, perhaps we should first hit, there's a bunch of things, big things in this episode, but, one of the things, jumping to the end.
What? Was I the only one who was doing right along with him his what? What? What?
Bringing back
what?
Tennant is going to be such an interesting, they they already kind of made fun of Ten at some point for being vain and and having taken two regenerations, and now he's taken up a third regeneration.
I know.
It's like, what's with you? Why are you the way you are?
Yeah, seriously.
So that's what I missed. Cool.
But
yeah.
He's it was weird though that he changed his clothes with the regeneration.
That usually
doesn't happen.
Never happened before.
Yeah,
but he's special.
Yeah,
but
he's
it might
special.
be a problem of okay, you're going from Whittaker to Tennant, and they couldn't make the outfit work. Though they made it for they made it work for the Master. I don't know, whatever. I guess maybe I don't know the size.
Yeah,
difference.
but no. The Sasha is smaller.
Yeah.
Sasha is maybe an inch taller, I think, or something than Whittaker, and Tennant is over 6. It is like 6 feet tall.
Okay.
So
they couldn't
big difference.
Yeah, they're going from somebody small to somebody tall. So anytime they have to do, I guess that's how they have to do it whenever they go from somebody who's small to somebody tall. Somebody tall going to somebody small, they can do what they want because they can just hang on them. But,
I mean, there would be it would be like capris on Tennant.
No, that would be funny.
He probably could fit in them because he's so tiny,
he's like a special effect.
He is he can disappear if he turns sideways, man. You get a paper cut hugging him.
Oh, we're going full Donna here.
Well, she is in the special, so.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. What I'd heard was that I'd heard some stuff Tennant being on set. Tennant's on set. Ooh, okay, so the first bit of 14 is gonna have a little bit of Tennant in it. That's cool. We'll sort of he'll get to start off with a duo. It might be a little much for 14, but that's okay. Usually you want to start off your Doctor by themselves, but that could be something interesting, something new, and something to kind of bring people back with Tennant and whatnot. But
they have this is not so much spoilers because it was in the advert, the trailer for it. They have Wilf in it.
Yeah, and
the guy who died recently.
Yeah, this is his last thing.
Yeah, so that's just plus they have NPH.
Oh, Neil Patrick Harris
is gonna be in the special.
Nice.
The 60th. I squeed.
But
so how did they reverse the faults or whatever transformation?
The what? Oh, they undo the forced regeneration.
Yeah, that.
You know how the Cybermen were Time Lords and had the regeneration power?
Yeah.
So Yaz had the Doctor hologram walk up and trick them into thinking that was just an incarnation of the Doctor showing up. And so they all shot, she stood in the middle of a bunch of Cybermen. They all shot at her at once, and so they all shot each other. And she's like, you gave them my regeneration my DNA, but you didn't give them my brains, did you? you really should have checked for holograms first. And so while they were regenerating, Yaz used the Sonic to send that regeneration energy into the chamber to undo the regeneration.
Which basically, the Master's old body was just a shell, just hanging there for a while, I guess. But
yeah, that's because he forced his consciousness into the Doctor. So
yeah, which
puts a whole new meaning of forcing yourself on someone.
Can we just start by saying the Master as Rasputin is a little on the nose.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
And how he was playing rah rah Rasputin.
Oh my god.
I had that thing stuck in my head.
Ew, oh my god. And I was at the laundromat watching it with my nephew, and it just like, god damn, that's a jammer.
Now, did the writers choose to have him be Rasputin for that song, or did they choose that song so he could play Rasputin?
I don't know, but it's so on the nose.
Yeah, the Master as Rasputin is that just fits his character so much.
It really does.
It's like having the Doctor be Merlin. It's like,
yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay.
So on the nose.
You know what I find funny though is Rasputin. It's one of those characters. No matter if you see him in a show or a movie, you instantly know, oh, that's Rasputin.
Yeah.
Like he just has that look. Cause Rasputin.
Yeah. But also so much fan service. It made the 50th anniversary look pale in comparison.
Yeah, I couldn't really name any of those doctors.
Okay, so they had four. They had the scarf for 4, and I don't remember 4 being in the.
No, he wasn't. I think we had 5. We had 7.
5, 6,
we had
5, 6, 7, 8. They didn't have Tenant at the end, yeah. So they had 5 through 8 plus 1 because they have somebody playing 1 now.
Yeah.
They even had different actor because the actor died ages ago, but they had Ian, the very first companion, one of the very first companions. At the very end, he was that really old guy.
Yeah.
At the very end, during that Dr. AA meeting.
I'm definitely gonna have to find a place to watch the rest of the episode.
But yeah, the other thing about it is, that's an interesting thing to do, to have that sort of council of companions, because of the things that Chibnall has added to this series, his bits of canon that he's added to the series, most of them are garbage. They are hot garbage. That's actually not a bad idea, and you think Unit would have done that long ago.
They have had even canonically, because in Sarah Jane Adventures they did have they did have Unit meeting Sarah, having Sarah Jane and Joe back
Yeah.
for the doctor's supposed death when it turned out it was a plot by an evil alien. Well, not evil alien. They actually wanted the TARDIS for non-nefarious means, but still it was not a good thing. They were doing bad. But
Yeah.
anyway.
It's yeah, but like this seems like something that Unit would definitely do. And the fact that Unit is like they didn't just go, "Oh yeah, we're they Chibnall, like I don't know who, like we've seen Unit back before.
Yeah.
But I'm glad somebody, whoever it was, whether it was Chibnall, going, "Oh, they really hate I took down Unit. Yeah, they really hate that. They absolutely hate that, and I'm gonna walk that back." Or somebody from the higher ups went, "No,
Yeah, no.
What did you do, you bastard?
yeah, no, we're bringing Unit
Although
back."
I understand Kate, trying to scramble to bring things back and bring order back to it after that snake guy just destroyed it. But they did her dirty. They totally fucked her character up in this. I'm sorry. First of all, she would not have been cowering like that behind that desk. And second of all, when she went, when she was invited to the TARDIS, she's been in the TARDIS before. She would not have been why is it bigger on the inside? And all fangirly about it. No, that is not Kate.
Yeah, well, she would be fangirly at the very least. I don't remember her ever being in the TARDIS in the show.
No, wasn't she in the TARDIS and with the the 11?
Oh, maybe did was it in the Power of 3 or something where?
Yeah, I thought it was in the Power of 3.
Which would make sense that's a Chibnall thing. Which would make sense that he would remember that because he wrote that thing.
Yeah.
If she'd written in the TARDIS before in the Power of 3, I don't remember because it's
I
been a
don't
long
think
time.
she wrote in the TARDIS, but I thought she was in the TARDIS because she was helping the doctor with something. The doctor was analyzing and he needed something from the TARDIS or something.
Yeah, I don't remember, but
and when he was that scene where he was asking her why she dropped the Lethbridge.
Yeah, and I think she would have she's not the type
she's
to go. It's bigger on the inside. She's like, "Oh yes, okay, yes."
Yeah,
or she's more likely, it's different from maybe something like it's different from the last time we've had it described, or something like that.
You change, or
we seem to have changed the desktop since we were last described what it looks like.
Yeah,
something technical that.
Yeah, this is a different background.
Yeah, different desktop. It's
yes. Something
we'll
like
have to make
that.
Note of this new desktop.
Yeah, it's the new Windows 11.
No. It's new Windows 10. Don't remember? But yeah, she would not have been so fangirly about it. It's just she just felt so out of character in this.
What if that's an imposter? Dun dun dun.
No. Osgood's the Zygon.
Oh, we didn't get Osgood too. You could have brought in Osgood. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, you could have brought in Osgood. Uh-huh.
Although, it's been so long, Osgood might be on assignment.
Oh yeah, Osgood could be doing anything right now. It's Unit.
Osgood could have. It is probably. Well, Kate was, laying low. Osgood probably was sent elsewhere.
Yeah, it's just get somebody who could have theoretically been there.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you could have brought in Osgood. That could have been a thing. But yeah.
But she was notable in her absence. Also, the way she was just like, if anything, Osgood would have been the one to have been like, the doctor will save me when she was about to be cyber converted.
Mm-hmm.
The way she was with the cyber conversion, like, she just seemed so. I understand she was going willingly and she was being all, martyrdom, which is a Kate thing. Kate totally would do that, but she would not be all, I believe the doctor will save me. No. She had a plan, and she was stalling for time to get that plan going.
But
I mean, Ace was still good. I loved Ace. Also, I loved Ace and Graham. Like, that scene where you carry that around with you everywhere. Like, yeah, you should have seen how I used this in 1963.
how old are you?
1963. How old are you? Gentleman never asked a lady that.
Old enough.
But I mean, I would ship that. That is shippable there.
Yeah, I don't know what
Although,
the ages
what?
were like in that.
I mean, well, Ace was in her late teens, early 20s in the 80s.
Yeah, and how old is Graham?
I don't know.
But
I mean,
he's probably
I
at least.
don't-
Let's see.
so, well,
He's probably at
that's
least.
what I'm
He's
here
got
for.
a grandson.
Well, an adopted
but
grandson.
adopted grandson, but they probably weren't that different in age. His
Yeah.
wife and him weren't probably that different in age, so like tack at least about 40 years on 20, assuming they had the kid was about 20, so like sitting around like 60 plus. And
Wait.
Okay,
It's been-
so Bradley Walsh was born in 1960. That's the actor who plays Graham.
yeah.
And Ace, Sophie Eldred was born in 1962.
Huh. Which
So,
doesn't really make Ace work, from a proper age standpoint. Like, she was actually in her 20s for most of the 80s. So, like, in actuality, they're really close in age. But, like...
well, Ace was taken out of her actual timeline. So, like, her character was, she was the right age for that era, if you know what I mean. Like, she was contemporary to the current timeline.
Yeah, it's just that she was supposed to be in her late teens, but she was actually in her 20s, like, for most of the 80s, so... But it's not that big a deal. It's not that big a difference. But the fact that they're roughly the same age, like, it actually works. Like, it wouldn't... even then, even if you took her canon age, which would put her, at the very early, a little bit, 5 to 10 years earlier, like, depending on how old she was and whatnot, how old she was supposed to be, and what year she was what age, it might be a little different, but it's still not that ridiculous of an age difference.
Yeah.
Even if you take canon ages.
Yeah.
So wait, did Graham return this episode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God damn it.
He came back at the end when...
Well, he came back in the, late middle, because during the climax, he came back to help fight off the Daleks in the
Volcano.
volcano. Which, what the hell was Graham doing in Volcano anyway?
Damn, I missed all the
did you
good
hear?
s-
He's a volcanologist.
Damn, I missed all the
He's a
good stuff.
volcano inspector or whatever he claimed.
Yeah, and
He's trying to use
I'm
the
a
psychic
volcano-
paper and it didn't work.
it's like, oh, it says you're a friend of the doctor here to help. Okay, cool. Like, god damn, I need to get this to work, bro.
Yeah.
Learn how to get this to work.
Damn, I missed a lot apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like we got basically I mean
And Ace doing the skydiving thing would totally be her. Like, just jumping out off the building. And then her jumping off the building and being caught by the TARDIS is such a throwback to that scene with River Song,
Yeah.
where she jumped off the building and just the doc, was caught by the TARDIS. And there was just so many tiny nuanced fan service throwbacks to like every era of Who. I mean, even that rah rah Rasputin thing
Oh my
was a
God.
throwback to the Sims Master.
when he was doing the dance at it was
Utopia,
Utopia.
that trio.
I can't decide whether
You should live or die.
you'll probably go to heaven. Please don't hang
Please don't lay your
your
head
head
and
and cry. Yeah, I wonder.
No wonder why my heart is dead inside.
It's cold and
Cold
hard
and
and hard and petrified. Lock the doors
the
and close the
doors.
blinds. We're going
We're
for a
going for
ride.
Now that song's gonna be stuck in my head.
Yeah. Which that was a very that one that was a nice one in that that's very much within character of the master, that when he thinks
Yeah.
he's won, you know what? I need some victory music.
Yeah.
He's very dramatic.
Also, one of the few lines I remember from the movie, he was in this. What do you think? I have to I always dress for the occasion.
Oh yeah, he refuses to wear robes.
Yeah. No. The not that part.
Okay.
The master said that
Okay.
when
Oh,
he
yeah.
was talking about looking like Rasputin.
Okay. Yeah.
He's like,
Uh,
I always dress for the occasion.
Yeah. I just.
Although
was-
the robe thing is a reference to the movie, because in the movie he wore these like really gnarly robes, like because he just stole clothes out of a locker, which was part of a Halloween costume, but he needed clothes because he was naked, because he was dead and in the morgue when he regenerated. So that was another case where that's how they did it, so that a tiny doctor, because Sylvester McCoy is short,
Yeah.
Paul
And-
McGann is not short,
Yeah.
so they had him naked when he regenerated because he was in the morgue. They thought he was dead because the aspirin interacted with his regeneration, making it difficult.
Yeah.
And so he just stole some clothes out of the doctor lockers and which
He
was
pulled he did the same. 11 basically copied the act, except for he wasn't dead. And he wasn't in the appeared dead.
itself, which in itself was a throwback to the third doctor, who that also happened to. He was in a hospital gown when he when he was found, because his regeneration went astray, but with he was forced regenerated, which in that case the second doctor always wore oversized clothes anyways, so that wasn't that big a deal. But we didn't really see him in the second doctor's clothes much, because he just fell out of the TARDIS and then was picked up by UNIT. in Spearhead from Space, which was the first of the Third Doctor episodes.
Yeah.
And he stole clothes from the hospital he was in. He also stole a car, which he then kept and called Bessie and modified to hell and back.
The Doctor driving, that is something I kind of want to see and don't want to see at the same time.
He modified the hell out of it, so it has like turbo speed and everything, and a remote control.
Oh wait, no, we saw Doctor drive a motorcycle. Never mind.
Well, no, he had a I think it was a Jeep or something. He called Bessie.
But
The Jeep is.
It was this bright yellow. It was bright yellow too.
Oh God, no.
It was like a main character in the series, because when he was stuck on Earth during his exile, he needed a way to get around.
yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, they don't have anyone for the second or third Doctor, so they weren't in it. Although, I mean, they do have someone for it. The second Doctor, they have Pat Troughton's son playing him in the Big Finish audios. And I get to meet the guy voicing the third Doctor now, Trim Treloar, at the Chicago TARDIS this year.
Yeah, the other
But
yeah.
yeah.
It does seem, like, oh, that isn't also an interesting thing, like, it's an interesting addition, like, we know now that, like, there is a place that the Doctors, like, we already had the timeline thing where we got to see the old Doctors, but we
Mhm.
now have, like, an edge of regeneration that where the Doctors can talk, the old Doctors can talk to the new Doctor, like, or the current Doctor, just before they regenerate and become part of the sort of collective of past Doctors. So that's an interesting.
I love how we had a sort of I don't want to go scene there too, where she's like about to regenerate and she's like, it's too soon, I wish I had more time, and she did everything but say I don't want to go.
Yeah. Which might have been like they chose that as her because it wasn't really a specific to her sort of like pre-regeneration speech. Like,
Yeah.
12 had 11 had a regeneration speech that was very 11. 12 had a regeneration speech that was very 12. 10 had a regeneration speech that was, all of the Doctors up until now have had a really, that's them.
Well, all of the new
Yeah,
Doctors.
yeah, that's what I was talking about. All the new ones from like 9 on, because that's the only ones that I know of that have had like I guess one had a pre-regeneration speech, but
Yeah, sort of.
He had
It was
a few lines he said before he regenerated. Yeah. But all the modern Doctors have all had a regeneration speech that's very them. That is it, but this one sort of calls back, that you're saying with I don't want, all but says I don't want to go. Maybe that's what called back 10. Like,
yeah.
I know we got in the Day of the Doctor, we got the curator saying, I do think you will, but just the old favorites.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I know the curator said that, but
well, actually, we find out in the soft canon, and it has been said in an interview somewhere or something, but in soft canon it is worked through that the curator is the later incarnations of the Doctor revisiting old faces.
Yeah.
Because we get more of the curator as not only Tom Baker, but also Colin Baker.
Okay.
So not only 4, but 6 return as the curator.
So he decides at some point in the future to just sort of, you know what, I'm going to go visit some old faces and I'm going to change my name to the curator. I'm going to take some time off.
Yeah,
go by the
basically.
curator for a while.
Yeah, sort of, basically, yeah.
And I'll still be around. I can still do things, but I'm going to take some time off and just be a curator for a while. Yeah. But yeah, I know, with, it's like, okay, I know the curator told us about that, but it's like, okay. I mean, he opened the Moffat, for Chibnall's credit, and well, I guess this is more of a Davies decision, because Davies was probably the one who decided that, yeah, Tennant is going to be coming back for this. He saw that and he's like, okay, yeah, we're doing that. But but I wonder, and it didn't seem like, what's also going to be interesting is out of this is usually post-regeneration, there's some wonkiness. Oh, and there is one thing that I did really, really like, because my stupid brain, it irritates my brain when he does this. Okay. The Doctor, on a lot of these regenerations, what does he do right before he regenerates? He throws the TARDIS into motion. It's like,
yes,
no, find a desolate place where nobody's gonna bother you, park, then regenerate.
Honestly, most of the regenerations in Classic Who, except 1 and maybe 2, because 2 was kind of iffy because he wasn't actually in the TARDIS when he was forced to regenerate, and we don't actually see his regeneration. It's one of the off-screen ones. But most of the Doctor's regenerations, well, 6 into 7 was in the TARDIS, but most of them were not. 3 into 4 was on the Planet of Spiders. And I don't think he was in the TARDIS at that time. I think he was in
well, 3 to 4, they had the Watcher come by and
No, that's 5. That was 4.
Oh, 5, yeah, that's 4 to 5. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and that was, he fell off of a tower.
Yeah.
5 into 6, I think he was in the I don't remember if he was in the TARDIS, but I know he started dying outside the TARDIS because he and Perry were both poisoned, and he gave her the antidote because there was only one antidote, and he just regenerated.
Yeah,
and he was carrying her body into the TARDIS. So at least the TARDIS wasn't in motion then.
Yeah, but 10 into 11 is in motion. Was 9 into 10 in motion? No, because it was actually a really, really quick regeneration.
Yeah, he fell over and I don't think he threw it into motion. He fell down and then got up and is like, so Barcelona?
Yeah. And then 10 to 11, it was flying. 11 to 12, he was flying. 12 to 13, he was flying. And to her, flying. And then 13 into 14, I guess 10 is now.
Yeah, he's 14. He is canonically 14.
He's 14, but thinking about it, he's 10 and 14. but faces
Yeah, but
wise, he's
this
11, 12. Like regeneration wise, he's like the 11th, 12th, and 14th.
yeah.
Keeping the numbers straight with Doctor Who can be a little tricky sometimes. You just have to remember,
Yeah.
after 9 plus, everybody gets an extra number on the
Yeah,
regeneration. What regeneration they are on.
And I mean, technically, because of the whole Joe Martin thing and that whole shit show Chibnall threw in there, technically, we don't even know what numbers they are, anything after even starting with 1, because we don't know where Joe Martin is in that sense. Although, personally, I like to think she's somewhere, she's the forced regeneration in between
The spearhead from
2 and
space.
3.
Yeah, just before.
Yeah.
Between 2 and 3.
Between War Games and Spearhead from Space, the Doctor traveled with Jamie for a bit, and 6B, and then he regenerated into Joe at some point, and to continue the working for the CIA, and then at some point she regenerated, and we don't know how many of those regenerations she was working for the CIA for.
Yeah, it's just
Division in this case, which I don't even want to think about the whole division / CIA, whatever.
yeah. I really hated that because I really hated he did that because like it was so the timeline and the Doctors were so nicely straightened out at the end of Moffat. Everything was nice and clean here. It was like, yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, War, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like, yeah, the War Doctor in there that gives a little bump, but everything else was perfectly straight. And then it's like, Jim was like, that's too nice and clean and convenient. Rip, 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 rip.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't even mind the Doctor being the timeless child thing, like, insofar as the Doctor was, even as far as the original series was going to be something special, and they were actually building towards that, and that's what the whole series, Curse of Fenric and that stuff was like alluding to, was something wonky with the Doctor, and he was going to be like some special Time Lord. So that's not that far-fetched. The Doctor being the timeless child, or the Doctor for some reason having unlimited regenerations or something weird. That's not the bad thing. The bad thing is they threw in a whole bunch of needless regenerations, and the whole fact that they even said that the Doctor grew up with the Master.
Yeah.
And he even mentioned it in this. And yet at the same time, they're still trying to say that, oh, the Doctor is the timeless child, so had another childhood, and yet he still grew up with the Master. And what the fuck, dude?
Yeah,
like,
if you wanted to uncap, like you could do a lot of things. Like you could, if it was the first Doctor that had that was the timeless child, it wouldn't be as big of a problem. I don't really like the timeless child because but if it had been the first Doctor, okay, everything still is straight. It's weird, but it's straight.
And actually, the original plan for the Doctor was that he was the reincarnation of the other. The other was before before regenerations were a thing, and before Time Lords gained the power to travel through time. There was Rassilon, the other, and Omega, and they were the trio that helped harness the star that gave them the Eye of Harmony and the ability to travel through time. And the Omega, as we know, was trapped in that dimension created during the harnessing of the star. Rassilon became the high overking of the Time Lords and became a god, sort of, deified by the Time Lords.
Lord President.
And Lord President and then became basically deified
Mm.
by future incarnation, by future Time Lords. And the other kind of faded into obscurity. And in soft canon, because this was what was supposed to be canonized if Doctor Who continued into the 90s, but it was canceled. So they made them into novels instead. But he was supposed to have been the one who created regeneration or something, and he was supposed to that's why Susan said it was he was her grandfather, because she was actually the other, but she recognized his incarnation or something, and that's why he kidnapped her, because she was being like experimented on or something. And honestly, when I heard the Timeless Child thing, I was thinking that was going to be Susan anyways. But yeah, so there was be something before the first Doctor, but it was supposed to be a prior existence, not so much the Timeless Child thing, which is why I'm not so bad with the Timeless Child, because it also doesn't throw off the numbers if you count one as one. When they became Theta Sigma, started, had their life as the Doctor.
Yeah.
But throwing in the whole, division thing and all that, and having the Doctor had grown up and stuff and still that throws a spanner in the whole fact that he grew up with the Master.
Yeah, which is one of the biggest relationships the Doctor has.
The Doctor had grown up with the Master, the Ronnie, Drax, and a handful of others known as the Deca, which were kind of like almost a Breakfast Club kind of group, where they were all outsiders for different reasons, and they all became rogue. Oh, and the monk, the meddlesome monk, was in there. And all of these rogue Time Lords were part of the Deca, which was this club that they made in Doctor Who. And my headcanon for that is that the Ronnie was made to tutor them because her, being obsessed with extra credit and stuff. And maybe for the social aspects of the time of the academy, she was kind of failing because she was obsessed with science and she didn't really care that she was failing, but she needed those
She was
grades.
going full Twilight.
Yeah, she Twilighted them. And they became her main 6, although they were the Decas, although they were the main 9. I mean, main 10, but...
Oh, God.
Now you can't not think about Ronnie.
Oh my gosh. Must draw.
Now that I've made that connection, it's just, oh, God.
Yes. And let's see. The Master would be Pinkie Pie.
Why does that work?
Right? The Doctor would probably be Fluttershy.
Yeah. I can see that.
The Meddlesome Monk would probably be... Rarity. Because interfering for the sake of supposedly fixing things, but fixing things in a very selfish way. And just interfering to interfere, which is such a rarity thing to do. And please write that down so I can remember it later.
But yeah, now you good grief. What have I done?
Well, hey, if you've got the bingo card out,
yeah.
My
You
Little
must be
Pony.
approaching blackout now.
There's the My Little Pony reference.
But
Uh,
yeah.
It
Okay,
was
so,
I did love the poignant interactions between the companions and their doctors. Like Ace got to talk to 7, and Tegan got to talk to 5, and have that last that last little moment. Although I did have to yell at the screen because the way Tegan was acting was within character, because Tegan is a saucy is a very saucy Aussie, but she left him twice. She left him both times. The first time she's like, "Oh, I'm back on Earth. See ya." And the second time, because once you've dealt with once you've traveled with the doctor, you don't go back to the mundane. You're still searching for adventure. Her nephew was caught up in this Time Lord plot. And so she got dragged into it as well. And she ended up dragged back to the doctor, and so she ended up traveling with the doctor again. Because after Adric died, she left the doctor, and then she came back with the Time Lord plot and traveled with him again. But then there was this whole thing with the Cybermen, and that totally shook her in her boots, and she's like, no, I'm out for good now. And she left. She left him both times. The doctor didn't kick her out. The doctor didn't abandon her. She left him. Okay? Like with Sarah Jane, he left her. He got summoned back to Gallifrey, so he dropped her off and never came back. So that's on him. Sarah Jane had every right to be pissed at him.
Yeah.
Tegan did not. Tegan abandoned him twice. Okay?
Yeah.
So her being all pissy about that is totally within character, but also totally pissed me off, because I'm like, girl, you dump him twice. He's not coming back.
It was nice to see a good Dalek, even for a brief moment.
Another one.
Yeah, it's like, poor guy. Anytime they try and go, they die.
Yeah. I mean, it's expected that he's going to die, though.
I know.
But it's still sad.
Yeah. Which the other thing you have to think about with this as well is that a bit of a grimmer side to this might be the last appearance of some of these doctors. Like, they're getting up there.
Yeah.
Because McCoy is 79.
Yeah.
And
Tom Baker's older than that.
Baker's 88. Davidson is 71. Spry by Doctor standards.
Yeah. Well, I've met Colin Baker, Peter Davidson, and Sylvester McCoy, and I get to meet Sylvester McCoy again this year.
Yeah, McCoy and Baker
nice.
McCoy and Colin Baker are the same age. They're both 79.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense since they both were literally within one regenerated into the other. So,
but
that age difference isn't that weird. Although I'm actually older.
Baker and McCoy. Well, but yeah, okay, never mind. That works. Never mind. I had tabs open and never mind.
You were thinking you were confused because there are two Bakers.
Well, no, I got my doctors
Because
in the wrong
Baker-
order again. But
Yeah, Baker is 6 and
yeah.
Colin Baker is 6 and
6 and
McCoy
McCoy's
is
7.
7.
But yeah, so that doesn't make it's not that
So if the actor dies and they get another one like they did with 1, I guess you could say he's no longer the real McCoy.
anyway, but so yeah, I mean Baker's 88, Tom Baker's 88, Colin Baker's 79, and Sylvester McCoy is 79. Peter Davison is 71. So like almost all of the
was
classic
a baby as far as like Doctor Who. He was the youngest one until 11.
Yeah. So like so basically almost all of the still living doctors doctors from Classic Who, which knock on wood because I don't want to curse like Tom Baker to go in like between the time we record this and I upload it, Tom Baker goes and it's like, oh, I said it, didn't I? But like all of them will be almost in their 80s. Will either be in their 80s or almost in their 80s, except for Davison. Davison will be 71. I don't know. His birthday's in April, so he'll be 72 in April. Baker will be. His is in June, so he'll be 80 next June. So yeah, these guys
are getting up there.
They're getting up there, and they've so it's very possible unless
50th anniversary, like if they are in it at all, like this might be their last chance at being the Doctor, aside from the Big Finish stuff that they do, because all of them still do Big Finish.
Yeah.
Like,
so
actually I will let you know how it goes, but they do have a 13th Doctor Big Finish series in the works.
Okay.
Which I will let you know if it really is her acting or if it's just Chibnall's shit writing.
Well, what might happen that for 13, like if Chibnall doesn't write her, if it's like Big Finish writers writing 13, she might be good.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Just like that the movie 8 was shit. Like that movie I did not like. I could not remember shit. And in fact, I had just watched the movie the week before, and Daphne Ashbrook was at the convention. She played the companion to the 8th Doctor in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sat with her at a table during the the reserved members pizza party. And I was talking to her, and I didn't realize she was one of the actors. And I'm like, so what do you do? And she's like, I'm in. And I'm like, oh my God.
This is awkward.
But
and as a Whovian, it was the most awkward thing, but that movie sucked so bad I didn't remember any of it.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
but yeah, so
unless they've done something for the 60th, like yeah, this might be this could very well be the last time we see these people
on screen.
On screen, like the Day of the Doctor might be the last time we see Tom Baker, depending on whether he shows up. Again, it all depends on whether he shows up to the 60th, because that's the last like thing that would
special.
Be,
yeah,
that would be the next milestone that he might appear in. Like,
yeah,
post that, that would have to wait. You'd probably wait till the 70th, and at that point, like he's 88 now, and it's just about the 60th, so he'd be almost 100. He'd be pushing 100 by the time,
like
the 70th rolls around. So, like He could make it. Like he could.
He could.
But
I mean,
but
as
every
long
year
as he
you're
doesn't
pushing
come
this,
to, as
the
long
less
as he doesn't
likely.
come to America,
Yeah. Yeah.
because the second and third Doctor, because all the Doctors died in order.
Yeah.
The second and third Doctor both died in America going to conventions.
And so Tom Baker just said, "Nope, not doing
Nope.
it. Not doing
Nope,
it."
it's my turn. I'm not going. I'm not going.
and he's gotten to 88, so
Hey, he made it. So,
So,
he had some. There's something to that, I guess.
we haven't lost it since he didn't do that. We haven't lost anybody since, so it would be kind of odd for Davison to go out of. Davison is probably going to go out of order, given that he has 6 after, like, Colin and McCoy are both 8 years his senior, so it's slightly more likely that what'll happen is 4, 6, and 7 will go somewhere in the same area, and then 5 later on. But
Well, I mean, you never know because, people die for various reasons.
yeah, and I'm realizing how much of a grim thought this whole discussion is but as a
Dude,
thing from
I watch, serial killer documentaries before work.
yeah, but just
So,
say it's
Grit is kind of my thing.
but yeah, it just it comes in it's worked into the episode because it's connected to the episode because getting to see them one more time, again,
And being able to say goodbye to your doctors, especially all the classic fans, this might be the last time and they get their goodbye with their doctor,
Yeah, this could be the last time you see
Tom Baker.
Yeah.
Except for Tom Baker, which they had the 50th for.
Yeah.
These other, the fans of the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, people who that was their doctor, they didn't get that goodbye. They didn't get that kind of closure from the other ones.
Yeah.
So they got the closure here, especially 5 with his, Braveheart Tegan, which was something that he said to Tegan a lot. That was kind of his catchphrase to Tegan, Braveheart. And, that conversation between Ace and 7.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay to blow stuff up when you want me to. It's never okay. But sometimes it's needed, only after warning. And I was just trying to, teach you and make you, make you better than me, basically. And that just was so poignant.
But yeah, so this is sort of the centennial they kind of used as a send-off for them in case, if they I don't know how they, when you're writing, if Davies is writing the 60th, okay, looking forward, if he's writing the 60th, how do you write that knowing that, you could theoretically bring these people in, but they might not be available, completely.
Yeah.
How do you write this? And so, you have to write it in such a way that if something happens, you can kind of quietly erase them from the script and fill that with something else.
Yeah.
But
because just like how there was no Sarah Jane in the thing, even though Sarah Jane would have been in there. If Liz Sladen hadn't died a decade ago, she would have been like leading that call. Because she had her own spin-off series.
Yeah.
Like, she was one of the most beloved companions. So she probably, if she were still around, she probably would have been one of, right there with Ace and Tegan. Like,
yeah. So you have to, yeah. So if you're writing the 60th right now, which they were already filming the 60th, so he's presumably already done this, but.
And I mean, they already have Wilf in there, and Wilf died like last month.
Yeah.
So,
but
they're already going to have to deal with that. Like, deal with what happens because, one of their actors already did die.
Yeah. If they want to do any edits or reshoots or anything, they have to. Now, if they want to do any reshoots on any stuff that he was involved in, they have to.
Work around that.
They have to basically take his stuff is fixed. His stuff is fixed. You can't do anything more with it because clever editing, sure, but you can't really do anything with it because you don't have him anymore.
Yeah.
But, it's we're if you plan to bring them all in at all for that,
plan to edit.
Yeah, plan to edit, plan to do that. Though, to be fair, the fact that they're already filming, like and we know like that they're still around, at least as of recording. Everybody that was in this no new doctors have died since this. Mm-hmm. As far as everybody as I am currently at time of recording, no, on the 27th of October, 2022, like we don't know of anybody who has passed.
Well, actually, there was one doctor who has died before Tom Baker and broke the lineage. Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah, he wasn't a numbered doctor, but he
was the doctor, so, and he was a doctor later than Tom Baker. So technically,
he already broke the order.
He broke the order.
Yeah, and it could be that it still the thing still holds for numbered doctors, but as far as just being the doctor, yeah, Hurt breaks a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that, but yeah, he's
because he died right at they actually had to replace him in the Big Finish audios for the War Doctor.
But yeah,
he had some of the some War Doctor series, and then I don't know if they made a second War Doctor series with somebody else or what, but I think they did. Have to look that up, but
yeah, so the whole thing has kind of like this might be one of those. Okay, get everybody in just in case.
Yeah.
And so for that, I kind of like that was part of it. Like we got to see, we got everybody who loved these doctors got to see them one more time.
Yeah. And we got a whole bunch of classic companions. They might have done well to have another have Martha Jones in there or something, which I know Martha's in Unit in America, so she's she would have more traveling. But I mean, the the other companions have been traveling the world. So I mean, and she's Unit. Surely Unit would have given her time off to go to that. You know?
Yeah, it wouldn't be basically anybody that they didn't throw into a different dimension, like they could use they could use
'Cause,
for
well,
this.
Donna, I don't know how they're even going to have Donna. Honestly, what they're going to do with Donna, because like her brain wasn't her brain supposed to explode if she met the Doctor again?
Yeah, maybe it was that incarnation of the Doctor. Because technically this Tennant is the 14th now, so it's a different Doctor.
Yeah, but I mean, like, any memory of her time with the Doctor even would make her head explode or something. So there's that weird, I don't know, but
You're right there,
like,
Madrock?
Yeah.
Okay.
he's like completely lost because we're going more deeply into who than he's familiar
just
with.
hear deep breaths and shuffling.
I think he died.
But yeah, it's like, yeah, they could have, if they could have fixed a lot of the problems that people have with the Timeless Child if they'd made the first Doctor the Timeless Child.
Yeah.
And stuck, what's her name? I don't
Jo-
know, Renegade Doctor, whatever you want to call her.
The fugitive Doctor is
Fugitive
what they
Doctor,
call
whatever her official name is. Like, she's good, and I kind of would have rather had her as 13 than Jodie.
I honestly hope they make a Big Finish series of her adventures because she is awesome.
Good. Yeah, I think that would be a very interesting thing to do. But if they had shoved her in between, like
two and three,
where there's a gap where it's sort of ambiguous. Yeah. It's an ambiguous enough gap that you could throw anybody in there.
Mm-hmm.
You could throw things in there. You could throw some timeline in there, and then stitch up the regeneration. Well, I guess if your time with child, it doesn't matter, but you could erase memories and whatnot, and then that whole regeneration doesn't matter. But
yeah,
the whole thing with the Timeless Child, the big thing that gets, like, the big stumbling block with it is that, like,
she grew up with the Master, yet she was already an adult.
Yeah, but also that 11 wasn't, like, he would, like, the 11 would feel if he had a regeneration left. They didn't have to add more regenerations. Like, he would feel regeneration left. Like, that's something.
Don't call him the 11, because that's a whole different character.
Okay, well, 11.
There's a Doctor Who character in the extended universe called the 11, and he is a psychopath, and I love him dearly. He is voiced by Matt Bonner. He has what is known as regenerative dissonance, where all of his incarnations exist in his mind at the same time, and he is psycho. Like, his 6th incarnation is a mass murderer who likes to kill, and he was like, "Ooh, I want to kill you," and he just jumps between his characters so seamlessly, and they're different voice. Like, the actor gives different voices to each incarnation, and it is beautiful. And he is in the newest series of Unit. He's like the main baddie for the next 4 stories. So, which I am squee. But anyways.
But yeah, so the 11th Doctor, like, you'd think he would be able to feel if he had a regeneration. Like, if, like, you'd be able to feel like, yeah, like, because he felt when he got new ones. It's like, that's one of the things that really messes up his Timeless Child thing. both that end and that end of the Doctor's timeline, and the fact that they jumped into his timeline, like,
Yeah.
and we didn't see anybody else. Like, this wasn't jumping into the Doctor's memory where, oh, he could have been erased, it could have been erased or something. This was jumping into his actual timeline. So
Yeah.
like, there's nothing like this is physical. This is not a mental thing you can erase. This is his timeline.
Yeah, that's like, although I mean there are issues with that whole scene of her jumping into the timeline and stuff. But yeah, that in itself threw a spanner in a whole bunch of other things, because like everything after that is like, well, why didn't you see that? You know?
Yeah, well, then, yeah, it's sort of, it played two parts to this. Like, it both played a means of straightening everything out, straightening canon out, where okay, one was one, the only thing we were missing was war. Like, we knew about everything, you've seen everything except for war. War
Yeah.
Doctor was the only thing you didn't see. This is the timeline, this is how it works. It straightened everything out, but when you straighten things out, you also dispense with ambiguity. Like, there was no ambiguity after what Moffat did with the timeline. It was like, okay, no, we're gonna take all of that, oh, there's extra regeneration, there's all this. No, let's just scatter that, get out of that. We're just gonna make a nice, neat timeline where we know what's happening. And it depends on whether you like a nice, neat timeline. I prefer the nice, neat timeline. Or you like ambiguity where you can throw anything you want into it. And it's like, well,
you see, there is two sides to that. Because on the one hand, having a nice, neat timeline is good for like referencing and stuff like that. But at the same time, that means that there is no room for, other stuff. Like,
there's no ambiguity.
Or the novelizations or side stories or adventures.
Which if I were writing a Doctor, I would have at least one point in their history where they drop the companion off for a minute they need to go do something, and like they're not abandoning them, and then just have them go off and then have them away. And then they come back like the next episode and pick them up, and they go to, or they're already in progress of going someplace else. And so there's a gap. There's a gap where we don't see what
that's why I do appreciate like the Moffat era, because they did that a lot in the Moffat era. Like 11 and 12 both did not have constant companions. Like, Clara had her own life. She had her own life outside of the Doctor.
Yeah, and what that does is it gives you some ambiguity
inside
11. So if you wanted to come back with Matt Smith later on when he's not doing like Marvel and all this other stuff, Marvel and
Game of
Thrones and all that, like if he he hits a slump and he's not doing anything at the moment, he can go back and be 11 in a separate little timeline that's like, oh yes, this occurs between, we just left this episode and we're he's gallivanting around during this time, and this is adventures he had while he wasn't with the Pawns.
Yeah. Or wasn't with Clara,
Yeah, whatever. But yeah.
Either way,
there's gaps.
Exactly.
Where it's canonically possible that he's out doing something that we don't know about. We never saw that side of the story.
Even with, Rusty D's series, like the Ninth Doctor, we never meet him right after regeneration. There's some hints that he might have regenerated, but it doesn't show like his regeneration, so he could have other adventures, which is why they have a Ninth Doctor series, which is actually really good. And I now actually appreciate the Ninth Doctor because Big Finish stories are better, honestly, than some of the screen ones. I'm sorry, but also
Blasphemy.
I think it's because Eccleston wasn't really having that much fun in the TV show. Like, he had some conflict with I don't know if it was the writers or the directors or somebody on set. So he wasn't having as much fun. And you could, it made the acting a little forced, which maybe that's what I was picking up on and I didn't like so much. But like in the Big Finish, he is like having so much fun, the actor, which just makes the story so much more fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but yeah.
So
If you're doing a series, pick a time and then just have the Doctor wander off by themselves for just all you need to do is once. It's a time machine.
Yeah.
They could be gone for 20 years and then decided, oh wait, I need to go pick up such and such.
Yeah, he could have like 15 different companions and come back for his other companion later. Like,
Yeah. So, especially as slowly as the Doctor ages, it's not going to be noticeable. So,
yeah.
Like, it took, 1,000 years for 11 to look old?
Yeah.
I forget how long it was, but it was like thousands. It was a long time.
And I mean, like, it was how many? It was like, what, 28 years that night with River?
Yeah. It was something like that. It was, how long does a night last on here? 28 years or something like that. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
But
so, like, just I appreciate those, like those little gaps, because then you could have new adventures and it doesn't close it off for future stories.
yeah, and it also helps for anniversaries where it's just an additional thing. Anniversaries need those gaps so that, like, if the Doctor shows up at, you get a 5 Doctors scenario or something where they all show up. It's like, oh, when did this happen? Okay, well, it happened here and here and there. Though the old series were a little more loose, so you could sneak those in a little better. The new Who is
they had their companions with them, except for the 3 Doctors, which was the first special. They only had Jo. They didn't have Jamie, and the first Doctor wasn't even fully there because he was, getting on in age and he was sick. So they had him just sitting in this like little bubble because they couldn't quite pull him from the timeline.
But yeah, I'm just talking about looser in terms of, like, there's gaps in the story. We don't, like, see one after another sort of thing. Like,
actually, we'd see it more in the classic series because a lot of the classic series actually had leapt from one directly into the other, especially in the first and second Doctor. Like, it literally,
of the ones I've seen, it seemed like it was like
one scene started the next. Like,
it seemed like
in the Dominators, the end of Dominators, they left off where they're about to be covered in lava. So the Doctor takes off, and that's what leads them into the Mind Robbers.
Yeah, I just know modern Who, like, it's just like they always have the companion with them. It's always,
They and the companions, because they had multiple companions back then, there was more overlap. Like, there wasn't any real time where there wasn't a companion because their companions overlapped. Like, even after getting rid of Susan, they had Vicky and still had Ian and Barbara. And then when Ian and Barbara left, he still had Vicky when he picked up Stephen, and he actually picked up Stephen while he was with, when Susan Ian and Barbara left, the same story that they picked up Steven. And then Vicky left, they picked up Dodo, they still had Steven. So there was that overlap. So they never were without a companion.
But anyway, it's
the only one they really had with that was the Sixth Doctor. Because during Trial of a Time Lord, that just left his entire history open to like debate.
Yeah.
Because it showed his future events, and we never actually met how he met Mel, even because he's just Mel now. Who was in there in this episode, which I'm not even a fan of Mel, but I was squeeing because yay, more classic companions.
But let's see.
Be right back.
Okay. Let's see.
Meow. I gotta find if something exists on the internet, and if it doesn't, I'm going to make it exist.
What's that?
A Dalek and Cyberman shipfic.
Oh, I'm sure it does. Like, there's weird stuff all over the place. You go into you go into some fan fiction, you're gonna come out with some weird stuff. As long as I can imagine it's something like they're both traitors to their, like the Cyberman has regained their emotions and whatnot, but it's survived the confusion from having those back or something, and then decides to turn against the Cyberman, and the Dalek also turns against the other Daleks, and so they're both trying to escape their races, but they end up running into each other and realizing that, wait, we both want to get away from this. And then they both try and they'll go on the run together, and it's the Dalek is mutated or something, and so it feels the good emotions as well. It's tainted by humanity.
It's already so beautiful.
Yeah, like the Dalek gets tainted by humanity, and so it wants to escape being a Dalek. And then the Cyberman, something happens with the Cyberman so that he still has the he gains emotions but doesn't completely collapse like the other, like that one time when Tennant did to all those Cybermen, give them their emotions back, and it just fried them. But but if they have have everything back, but somehow like he was a slightly weird Cyberman, and there was an error or a fault in how he was built, and so he actually survives the whole situation, and so they run off together and become lovers and whatnot as they escape and fight back against both of their races, and in the meantime they fall in love. And there's just a lot of clanking sounds when they're alone. Now you have that image in your head, and it will never leave.
Yes, thank you. You will be assimilated.
Well, that's Borg. That's Borg, not Cyberman. Though they're very close.
What does Cyberman say? Upgraded?
I think modern Cybermen say upgraded. You'll be upgraded or something like that.
No.
All right.
Upgrade complete. Ah.
You'll be
Upgrade is
deleted or you'll be
compulsory.
upgraded. It depends on what they're doing.
You missed a
Upgrade
good
is
time.
compulsory.
You missed a good time, dog.
But
We're talking about if somebody wrote a ship fic of Daleks and Cybermen getting it on.
if somebody did that, it would probably be the master.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was like, I went through a whole like, okay, how would you do that? And it's like, well, you'd have to have a mutated Dalek tainted by humanity in order to get that sort of loving emotion back.
Well, no, it wouldn't be loving. It would just be tentacle porn.
Well, I mean, assuming, okay, so Daleks can only hate, like that's basically their
Yeah.
thing, so they can't
Don't
really
have to
love.
love that.
So if you're having a love thing, you'd need to mutate the
Doesn't
Dalek to regain that feature
Doesn't
back.
have to be love, bruh. That's called rape.
Well, we're talking about there is a love thing. This is a love story. He was like, I don't know if it exists, but I want a ship fic with that. And it's like, okay, well, if you want to do that, you'd want a mutated Dalek, and I'm not sure exactly how it would work, but you need to get the Cybermen their emotions back without completely destroying them. So maybe there's a defect in the way the Cyberman was produced, or there's a special thing to where everything doesn't immediately, do what happened when 10 suppressed the emotion chip, took the emotion inhibitors off in that one series that he had. But like, you'd have to do that, and then they would both be like, we don't want to be part of our factions anymore. They're both trying to run away. They both point their weapons at each other and like, wait, you're not firing. I don't want to kill anymore. Neither do I. Let's run off together. And then they have adventures and fall in love, and that would be how you would do a ship fic between those two. I also told him, like, when you have private time, you just hear clanking. But that was a quick summary of what we were just talking about. But I'll probably just cut this whole section out for the review. But
I know it's a special treat for our listeners.
Anybody who actually listens this far in gets a prompt for a Cyberman Dalek ship fic.
Yes, write it for us.
And we will read it.
Yes. And the winner will be chosen as the most embarrassing writer ever.
No, but we will read it. And seriously, too.
Yes, I'll do my dramatic reading voice.
Anyway, let's see what else. There's not a lot to... For as much as happens in this episode, there's not a lot to talk about. Like, we've actually spent most of this time talking about like past and future Doctors and the implications, which does tie in because we do have past Doctors show up, and this episode does open the fact that like technically in the future you could put a Doctor to the edge of regeneration, like they could do that in order to talk to past regenerations or something.
Mm-hmm.
You could use that as sort of a thing. If you wanted to keep this part canon, that's technically like they could go to the edge of regeneration and then come back, and like they don't use up a regeneration, they just kind of get to the edge and then talk to the Doctors there, get advice, and then pull back. So that's a thing that seems possible now. What else? Yeah, we covered Rasputin being just a little too perfect.
Rasputin.
I find it funny that Tegan's afraid of heights when she was an air flight stewardess. Also, it's like, I didn't put you into the equation. I can't deal with saving you two. It's like, Listen, I traveled with the doctor. I was a I was a stewardess in the 1980s. Nothing can faze me.
But yeah, it was. Yeah, it's actually not a lot to. Just thinking about what I would say is things that were interesting. Like most of it resolves. Like it's a lot of fan service. It's a lot of There's not a lot particularly added to it. I mean, we got the edge of being the Doctor, the abyss of regeneration. We talked about Tennant. We talked about future and past Doctors coming back, which is a big thing that's going to come out of this. Which. Oh, well, one thing about this though with Tennant is that what they could do. Oh no, because it wouldn't work. Never mind. I was gonna say you could go back to a different point in Donna's timeline before she had that, because she wouldn't realize that he was there, but she's older now, so it would be very obvious. And
not only that,
they would be basing it in the current year, so it really wouldn't work. Like
yeah,
it was it's like that was. I was thinking about it fourth dimensionally, but it doesn't really work when you start bringing in like fleshy humans that age and modern filming.
Pesky fleshy humans.
Oh my gosh. NPH is the bad guy, it looks like.
Yeah, that seems about right. He seems like he'd be good at that.
And the character, I think they're having Donna's daughter in this.
Ooh.
All I can think about is
she's Donna's daughter.
With NPH, all I can think about is he going to turn into Dr. Horrible?
I really, really hope there's some musical number in this. I just gotta say, there's got to be some musical number in this.
Yeah, I'm just imagining he's got the goggles and if he's the villain, go big.
No. He has a top hat though, so even better. He's got a top hat and like this is just from the IMDb website. I will send you the pic. Like
it's presentation. But yeah, that's just let's see what else is there. I mean,
and
this also presumably deals with the Cybermasters, which is the Time Lord Cybermen.
Yeah, the Cybermasters.
Yeah.
Like the they're the Cybermaster. I'm the master of Cybermen. I'm the Cybermaster, and him like trying to figure out the name of all the. I'm the Dr. Cybermaster. No, the Master Cyber Doctor. No.
But yeah, like so that presumably wraps up that bit, and that was like the last little thing that Gallifrey is destroyed again. So
at least until they figure out how to fix it.
Yeah, they need. I really don't like that. Like if he had made what if NPH is the master, the new master?
Oh my God! Yes. Yes. Bro,
I mean,
yes.
I could see that.
Yes.
I saw him. I flipped over to look at that picture you sent of him in the top hat, and I'm like,
I would be so chuffed, man. Like, hell to the yes.
Somehow he survives this, because the master always does.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he's dead now. Just wait.
But the only doubtful is the fact that they don't tend to throw that much master at you at a time.
Well, I mean, he was just at the end of this one. He could show up, like, you know, he could still show up in the next one. Like, it would be a lot of master all at once, but if it's a way of introducing MPH as the master for shooting,
I would totally go for it.
Like, and he doesn't have to spend a lot. We don't even know how much time he spends. Like I think there's multiple episodes in the next like around the 60th. So he could be just they're introducing him as the master for just a brief bit at the end of that, and then they go back, and when Shooty comes in, he deals with the master, and then it's a break from the master for a while.
Nah. What if they're like, okay, we're gonna do something different? He's gonna be the meddling monk.
Oh my God, yes. That would that would work. Like,
basically, MPH is a Time Lord. Other than the
MPH
Doctor
has
works.
to be a Time Lord. MPH is the Ronnie.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, it's a bit more fluid in Time Lord, so.
But honestly, I will show you what the Meddlesome Monk looks like in the current audios. Like, this is the current Meddlesome Monk. Although that's not from one of the covers, that's just the actor. So
yeah, but yeah, that's a thing that could happen.
And I mean, the monk does tend to fit himself into the thing. The whole reason he's called the Meddlesome Monk is because he was dressed as a monk in the episode he was in, and the moniker stuck. And it's kind of a running gag where it's like, why does everybody call me the monk? I'm not a monk. It's like, you've dressed as a monk before. Yes, but I'm not dressed as one now. Yeah, but alliteration trumps accuracy. Alliteration trumps accuracy. It's like, I love the monk and Missy. Like, those two are so hilarious together.
But yeah, that's a thing that could happen. I don't know. There's a lot to.
We got a whole year to wait now.
Yeah, and I am excited. I like 10. I was a little shocked that they brought him back as just a full regeneration.
I know. I was like shocked and a little excited, but more kind of disappointed because he's so overplayed. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, he's great. He's chocolate ice cream. He's lovely.
Exactly.
You always like seeing him, but he's like, okay, we're doing this, okay.
Yeah, it's like Rose. Okay, it's like Rose. They keep bringing Billie Piper back, and it's like, enough. Like, she wasn't a terrible companion. She was a good companion, but enough.
Yeah, I mean,
enough is enough.
To be fair, it's been long enough that bringing Tennant back in any respect wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't until, like, the last time we saw Tennant was decade. 2 generations ago. That was...
It's literally been a decade.
God.
Since the last time we saw saw his Doctor. So...
Yeah, it's not like he's been overused within the Doctor Who right now, but I was a little surprised that they brought him back as a full regeneration. It's also not crazy that he showed up again. Like, she's like, I wanted more time. I don't want to go. And then that triggered her to revert back to 10.
Also, they did a lot of parallels between her and 10 through the entire time. You know, like, even at the beginning of her regeneration, everybody was comparing her to 10. So, like, it's not that shocking. But, like, at the same time, it's just, and I know it hasn't been that long, and I think it's just the fandom ruined it for me. because it's kind of like how the fandom Rune grows for me. I like Rose on screen. I haven't listened to her audios yet because I'm still getting through the Monk. Because yes, I bought like the entire series of Monk stories and I'm working my way through that.
Nice.
But does he decide to be a detective in San Francisco?
No. Oh. He is a in the current one I'm listening to, he actually is playing a what do you call it? Who is like kind of PR but for a politician?
Spin doctor.
Spin doctor, yeah. He plays a spin doctor for Churchill, so.
Okay.
In the episode I'm listening to right now.
But
called Subterfuge. I gotta say, I love the Big Finish characters. They write them so well and like just give so much depth to them. And they're just so well acted.
Let's see.
And every time I see a Big Finish sale and I don't have the money to buy it, I'm like, I want to weep.
I know.
Let's see what else. I can't think of anything. Like, there was a lot that happened in this episode, but like it's not very talk focused. Like, it's not very doesn't really lend itself well to discussion.
It's one of those, it was almost the entire thing was just so good. It's hard to put into words,
Yeah.
Hard to believe Chibnall was involved.
Huh?
Hard to believe Chibnall was involved.
I know. Wow. To be fair, I did like Power of Three. Yeah. Maybe he just needed to title all his episodes with Power of.
Yeah.
Power of the Doctor, Power of Three. Those are his strongest episodes.
But yeah, if he it doesn't really, and the other thing, I don't think it really even, like, he has a really bad problem with pacing. Like, at the end of the episode, it just like, oh yeah, we got to do all this right at the end of the episode. Like,
this one had really good pacing. This one was really well thought out, and like the timing of it was well done. The jokes landed. It wasn't like shoving something in your face. Like,
maybe had Davies take a look at it before like, we're already working for you. I'm already working with you to get Tenet on the end of this.
Yeah.
Can you just take a look at it?
Hey, Rusty, you want to take a look and see if this jives with what you're doing? It's like, okay, no.
Stuff that out. Nope.
Okay, now this needs to be put here instead of here, because otherwise that throws the entire story off. Add this quip, because they'd have to say something like this. And is that really how Ace is going to act?
Yeah.
Because Russell T Davies, he's the one who got the series started again, and he knows his shit.
Chibnall pretends he knows his shit.
Yeah. Chibnall...
But he's just kind of shit.
Chibnall's problem is he over fanboys. Like, all of his stories read like bad fan fiction.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh man, I want this to happen and this to happen and this to happen. Ooh, and maybe I can throw in some sort of like commentary, which Doctor Who has always had commentary. Doctor Who has always been allegorical.
But it's allegory. You don't just, and it's not so thinly veiled that you're like, that's Trump. That's
throwing
Trump.
Shit in your face.
Yeah. It's
whereas, like...
Yeah, that allegory on the arachnids of the UK was so thin, you could just put a finger through it. It's like, if you want to talk about Trump, That's fine. Things you don't like about Trump, that's fine. But stick to things you don't like about Trump, because otherwise, all you're doing is poking at Trump. You're not poking at the things about Trump you don't like.
Yeah, like
It makes it much easier if you say, "Well, I don't like his immigration policy." Okay, well then write a story
I
about
don't like his
immigration policies
racism. I don't like his sexism. I don't like his, list the, point at the things he was fucking up, not just
yeah, that way you
haha, you're
actually people actually know what like, instead of it's just, oh yeah, he's just pitting Trump with it's just more Trump bashing. It's like, well, that's not very helpful in like Trump bad. It's like that's not a very nuanced and interesting story, and it doesn't stand on its own. If there's something about Trump that's timelessly bad, then talk about that. If you think something's timelessly bad, even if not everybody agrees with you, like at least that story stands on its own. You don't need the context of Trump.
and yeah, and don't like throw, don't. The thing about Classic Who is even when they did allegory, which was all the time, they were timeless allegories. They were, you could watch it now and take something away from it. It's not just, oh, I don't like this one. I don't like this,
Yeah.
this.
Talk about
like,
ideas, not people.
Exactly. Like
you
don't
can have figures, historical figures, and that's fine. That's your Doctor Who.
And
You
you
kind of
could
have to, but
and you could even have like modern figures at points. That's totally fine. And even you could reference like something like Trump because he would be a historical figure. He definitely is going to be in history books. Like,
but
I mean,
but yeah, but
so
if
people
you're,
will
if you're doing
always know,
allegory,
but don't just throw the name out there. You've got to do something with it.
yeah,
You
because if you can point a finger and say, this is a policy or an idea or something he does that I don't like, I'm going to expose why that policy, why that idea, why that position, why that attitude, why that way of thinking is wrong. Well, I've got to take that idea, okay, take that specific idea I want to work on, cut it away from Trump entirely, put it over here, write your episode around that idea. Then you've got an episode that will last, that will be timeless, that will be good, that won't just be, I want to hit a Trump pinata. It's like, fine, you don't like Trump. Okay, but bashing on Trump, without really having any substance doesn't really make a good episode.
Yeah.
If you want to do that, go do some stand-up comedy if you just want to sit there and bash Trump for an hour. Make a comedy special. Okay, if you want to write a good Doctor Who episode, pull out something he does that you don't like, allegorize it, and then
Even feel free to make him into a villain. Like, if you're going to make him a villain, though, make him a villain. Don't just say he's a villain.
If you don't talk about what he, it's like, well, it should be just obvious that this is bad. Well, it's apparent, there are people who don't think it's bad, so obviously that's not it may be a lot of people think it's it's bad, but not everybody, and so take it out of its context, make it timeless, and that's a much better way of talking about it, like, because the Daleks are really good because they're basically Nazis, but they're not the Nazis. They embrace a lot of the, like extermination, purity, all this sort of thing, but they do it without it being obvious the Nazis, and you don't have to keep going back to 1940s to go pick up more Nazis. You can just have the Daleks show up and be the Daleks. But yeah. Darn pepper pots.
Yep. I mean, my nephew loves the Daleks. They're his favorite. Every year he's like, I want to dress as a Dalek. Which, considering I'm going to have to, we're going to have to find a ride up there. He can't go as we can't make the Dalek costume he wants to make. He wanted to take a garbage can and turn it into a Dalek.
Cute.
But we're not going to get to do that this year. Also, we started in August, but since my mom broke her leg and everything and all the shit, and haven't had a chance to work on it, so.
Okay, well, I think we're coming up on 2 hours already on this.
Yeah, I'm beginning to think even if I did watch the Below Decks, we wouldn't have time for it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can't. I think we've basically been sort of riffing for the last for most of this. I mean, it's all intricate in talking about. This is not only a review of Power of the Doctor. This is also sort of talking about past Doctor, future Doctor, where the series is, which is especially important as we're coming to the end of 13's time. Like taking Chibnall's time and 13's time are coming to an end. So talking about the state of the series also kind of becomes part of talking about a final episode. Is talking about where the series is, where it's going, and all that sort of thing. But yeah. Any other things to talk about before we cut it off here? Because I don't want.
No, I'm good.
We've rambled on quite a lot already.
Now let's do awkward silence for half an hour.
Okay.